Some people post their photos every week, some post once in a while, and then there are people who never post their photos at all. Not selfies, not group pictures, not even on special days. If this sounds like you, this isn't about insecurity the way most people think. Psychology tells a very different story. Most people assume something simple. They think they're shy, they lack confidence, they don't like how they look. But that explanation is shallow. In reality, many people who never post their photos are not hiding from others. They're protecting something internal. For many people, privacy isn't fear, it's a value. They don't feel the need to display themselves to feel real, validated, or seen. Their identity exists offline, in thoughts, conversations, and inner experience, not in pixels. To them, posting a photo feels less like expression and more like exposure. Psychologically, people who avoid posting photos often have a strong internal sense of self. They don't rely heavily on external feedback to know who they are. Likes don't build them. Silence doesn't break them. Their self-image is internally regulated, not socially negotiated. These people are often observers. They scroll quietly. They notice patterns. They read energy. They see how people curate images, pose happiness, edit imperfections. And consciously or unconsciously, they decide, I don't want to perform my existence. Posting photos invites interpretation, comments, judgment, assumptions. People who don't post photos tend to have strong emotional boundaries. They choose who gets access to their appearance, their expressions, their vulnerability. Not everyone deserves visibility. When you post a photo, you give up control over how it's read. People project stories. They misinterpret moods. They draw conclusions. People who avoid posting photos often want control over their narrative. They prefer to be understood through words, actions, and consistency, not a frozen moment. Here's something most people miss. Many of these individuals are comfortable being unseen. They don't crave attention. They don't fear invisibility. In fact, they often find safety in it. Being unseen means fewer expectations, less pressure, and more freedom to exist honestly. Psychologically, this trait often overlaps with high emotional sensitivity. They feel energy shifts, they notice tone changes, they sense judgment even when it's subtle. Posting a photo exposes them to too many invisible reactions, even imagined ones. Avoiding that isn't weakness, it's self-regulation. This doesn't mean they're antisocial, or disconnected, or cold. They usually connect deeply but selectively. They share themselves in private spaces with trusted people, in meaningful conversations. Their world is smaller but richer. Ironically, people who never post their photos are often very self-aware. They know how they look, they know how they're perceived, they just don't feel the need to constantly confirm it publicly. Their sense of worth doesn't require proof. For some, this behavior develops early. They learned that visibility attracts attention, attention attracts judgment, and judgment costs energy. So they learn to stay low-key, not invisible, just protected. Psychology doesn't label this as a flaw. It often reflects emotional independence, strong boundaries, depth over display, self-definition without applause. These people live inwardly rich lives, even if the outside world doesn't see it. If you never post your photos, it doesn't mean you're hiding. It may mean you know something many people forget. Not everything meaningful needs to be seen. Some people aren't meant to be displayed. They're meant to be understood, quietly.